The slap echoed through the Duke's study like a gunshot. Eleanor Hartley's palm stung. Her hand trembled, but she didn't lower it. Nathaniel Ashford, Duke of Ravenscroft, touched his reddening cheek, his grey eyes wide with shock. No one had ever struck him. No one would dare. "I can hire 50 governesses like you before dinner," he'd said, his voice dripping contempt. Eleanor picked up her soaking cloak from where she'd dropped it. "Then hire them, Your Grace. I'm sure they'll tolerate your cruelty better than I can." She walked toward the door. "Lady Hartley, I haven't dismissed you." "No, I dismissed you." The door slammed. The Duke stood frozen, watching a penniless woman walk away from the one thing she desperately needed, his money. Before we continue this story of pride power and the kind of love that breaks every rule, please subscribe and watch until the end. Comment what city you're watching from. I want to see how far Eleanor's defiance travels. Now let's go back to where this all started. 3 days earlier. "His Grace will see you now." The butler's voice held that particular pitch Eleanor had learned to recognize. Pity and contempt. Lovely combination. She followed him up the main staircase. Her boots squelched with each step. Water dripped from her cloak onto pristine marble. Don't think about the puddles. Don't think about how you used to own marble floors. Focus. The butler knocked, opened the door. "Lady Eleanor Hartley, Your Grace." He left. Eleanor stepped inside. Nathaniel Ashford didn't look up. Scratch, scratch, scratch. His pen moved across paper with mechanical precision. Eleanor stood, waited. The clock on the mantel ticked. 30 seconds. 60. 90. She counted each one. Her nails dug crescents into her palms. Finally he set down his pen. The sound was deliberate, controlled. Everything about him was controlled. "Lady Eleanor Hartley." His voice was deep cold, each word precisely measured. "Daughter of the late Richard Hartley, shipping company collapsed, debts of £40,000, currently occupying, how shall I phrase this, the least valuable wing of your family estate, while creditors catalogue everything else." Heat flooded her face. "Breathe. You need this position. Swallow your pride." "Your Grace is remarkably well informed." "I make it my business to know who enters my household." He finally looked up. Oh, the rumours hadn't prepared her. Handsome didn't cover it. He was all sharp angles and aristocratic planes, grey eyes like winter storms, mouth that looked like it had forgotten how to smile. 34 years old and already ancient with control. "You come recommended by Lady Westbrook," he continued, leaning back. "She assures me you're educated, accomplished, capable of instructing my daughter in deportment, music, languages, literature." "Lady Westbrook is very kind." "I haven't finished." Crack. The words snapped through the air. Eleanor's mouth closed. "Lady Sophie is 7 years old. Her mother passed 3 years ago. Since then she has driven away 6 governesses. 6. The last one departed after 4 days. The one before lasted 2 weeks and left in tears, muttering about emotional disturbance." He stood. God, he's tall. The room felt suddenly smaller. "My daughter requires structure, discipline, consistent instruction. Not sentimentality, not coddling, not whatever fashionable theories about childhood you've absorbed from novels. She needs someone who understands that breeding means control, that nobility requires strength, that emotions are—" He paused, choosing words like weapons. "Best managed through rigorous self-discipline." Eleanor felt her temper stir. "Careful, careful, you need this, but some things ran deeper than necessity." "And what of affection, Your Grace?" His eyes narrowed. "I beg your pardon. affection, kindness. The child has lost her mother. Surely she requires some degree of emotional— Surely you are not presuming to lecture me. His voice dropped to dangerous softness. A woman who arrives at my door desperate for any position that will keep her from the workhouse does not dictate terms to me. The words hit like physical blows. Eleanor's hands clenched. Apologize. Lower your eyes. Accept anything he offers. You need this. You need this. Her father's voice in her memory. Eleanor, sometimes dignity costs more than we can afford. But Papa, sometimes it's all we have left. I beg your Grace's pardon. Her voice stayed steady. I spoke out of turn. However, if we are to be clear with one another, and I believe we should be then, let me state my position plainly. She took a breath. Here goes everything. I am not a governess. I haven't been trained for service. I'm a gentlewoman fallen on difficult times, willing to serve as companion and instructress because circumstances require it. But I will not be treated as less than human, and I will not stand silent if I believe a child in my care is being harmed by emotional neglect. The silence was absolute. Nathaniel's eyes had gone completely cold. You have extraordinary audacity, Lady Hartley. I wonder if you can afford it. I wonder if your Grace can afford to lose another instructress. Eleanor matched his tone. Lady Westbrook indicated you were becoming— how did she phrase it? Yes. Rather desperate. They stared at each other across the mahogany expanse. A muscle jumped in his jaw. His hands went very still on the desk. Then something flickered in those grey eyes. Not warmth, but something. Interest. Or challenge. Very well, Lady Hartley. 1 month trial, £20 per annum paid quarterly. Room in the East Wing meals with the upper servants' weekly progress reports. £20. An insult. London governesses earn 50. But Eleanor had no references, no experience, and creditors circling like ravens. I accept. Excellent. You begin tomorrow. Mrs. Henshaw will show you to your quarters. He picked up his pen. She ceased to exist. Eleanor turned toward the door, paused. Your Grace? Yes. He didn't look up. Thank you for the opportunity. I shall endeavour to prove worthy of it. Now he looked up. His expression was unreadable. See that you do, Lady Hartley. I have very little patience for disappointment. The room was small. Narrow bed, washstand, single window overlooking the stable yard. You grew up in a bedroom 3 times this size, with silk curtains and a dressing room and morning chocolate. Eleanor sat on the bed. You can endure anything for security, even a cold, arrogant duke who looks at you like a ledger entry. She almost believed it. The next morning, 3rd floor, nursery door. Eleanor knocked. No answer. She knocked again. Go away! Young voice. Female. Absolutely certain. Eleanor tried the handle. Locked. Lady Sophie, my name is Eleanor Hartley. I'm your new companion. I don't want a new companion. Go away. I'm afraid I can't do that. Then I'll make you leave, like all the others. Eleanor leaned against the door. This child isn't cruel. She's afraid. And fear I understand intimately. Lady Sophie, I'm going to tell you something true. Then you can decide. Silence. I don't want to be here. I'd rather be anywhere else. I'm here because my father died and left me nothing, and if I don't work, I'll lose everything. So I'm not leaving. Not because I want to teach you deportment or music, but because I literally cannot afford to fail. More silence. Then, that's honest at least. I find honesty more efficient than pleasantness. A sound that might have been a laugh. The last governess said I was troubled and needed firm guidance. The last governess was probably an idiot. Definite laughter now. Click. The lock turned. The door opened. Sophie Ashford was small for 7. Dark hair in uncombed tangles. Her father's grey eyes. Expensive dress, wrinkled like she'd slept in it. Bare feet. "You're not like the others," Sophie said. "No. I'm probably worse. I have no idea what I'm doing." Sophie studied her with unsettling intensity. "Do you think I'm troubled?" Eleanor knelt to Sophie's eye level. "I think you're sad and angry and probably lonely, but troubled. No. I think you're 7 years old and your mother died and your father doesn't know how to talk to you anymore. None of that makes you troubled. It makes you human." Sophie's eyes filled with tears. "Papa says I need to control my emotions, that ladies don't cry. Your papa is probably doing his best. Careful. But sometimes even dukes can be wrong." "You can't say that." "Can't." "He'll dismiss you." "He might, but it would still be true." Sophie stepped back, opening the door wider. "You can come in, but I'm not promising anything." "I wouldn't expect you to." Chip. Inside chaos. Toys everywhere, books piled in corners, drawings covering every surface. But Eleanor noticed every drawing was the same woman. Dark-haired, beautiful, always smiling. "Is that your mama?" Sophie nodded. Her face closed down. "Mrs. Henshaw said I should put them away, that it's unhealthy to dwell." "Mrs. Henshaw doesn't get to decide that. These are yours. Keep them as long as you need them." "Really? Really?" Sophie's face transformed, sunlight breaking through storm clouds. "Can we draw together?" Sophie asked. "I'm terrible at drawing." "That's okay. I can teach you." They sat on the floor. Sophie chattered about her mama, about roses and morning songs and cookies before dinner. Eleanor listened encouraged, never interrupted. She didn't notice the Duke in the doorway until Sophie went silent. "Papa!" Eleanor's heart sank. "Here it comes." Nathaniel's face was thunderous. "Lady Hartley, a word. Corridor. Now." Eleanor stood. The dismissal. The end. In the corridor the door closed, controlled, ominous. "What precisely do you think you're doing, teaching your daughter your grace?" That looked like sitting on the floor drawing pictures discussing matters that should remain private. "Your daughter needs to talk about her mother." "My daughter needs structure and discipline, not encouragement to wallow in grief." Eleanor's temper snapped. "Wallow? She's 7 years old. She lost her mother. She's not wallowing, she's mourning. There's a difference. You've been here 6 hours, 6, and you believe you understand my daughter better than I do. I understand that she's talking to me." The words came out sharper than intended. "When's the last time she talked to you?" His face went white. "You have no right." "I have every right. You hired me to care for her. That's what I'm doing. If you wanted someone to simply enforce rules and teach curtsying, you should have been clearer." They stared at each other, both breathing hard. A muscle jumped in his jaw. "1 week," he said finally. "Show me results, real results, progress, improvement. If I see none, you're dismissed." "Understood." He turned away. Stopped. "And, Lady Hartley, in the future when I summon you, you come immediately. You don't make me wait while you finish your little art projects. In the future, when you interrupt a child who's finally beginning to trust someone, perhaps consider that your arrival and your disapproval is precisely what sends her back into silence." His eyes flashed. "You're dismissed." So you've said. 1 week. I'll make the most of it. She turned back to the nursery, left him standing there. You just told a duke he's failing his daughter. You essentially called him a bad father. Her hands trembled. Well, at least he's feeling something, even if it's rage. And 4 days later, music room. Sophie stared at the pianoforte. Her face held an expression Eleanor couldn't read. Your mama played? Eleanor asked softly. Sophie nodded. Every morning. Papa would bring her tea and she'd play and he'd just listen. He'd smile. He used to smile before. This cold, controlled man, smiling at his wife's music, being human. Eleanor's heart ached. Would you like to try? Eleanor asked. I can't. Papa said it's too painful. For him, perhaps. What about for you? Sophie's fingers hovered over the keys. I don't remember the songs. Then make up new ones. They don't have to be your mama's songs. They can be Sophie's songs. Sophie pressed a key, then another. Hesitant, uncertain, but there. She played a simple melody. A child finding her way through sound. The door opened. Nathaniel stood there, face unreadable. Eleanor braced for another confrontation, but he said nothing, just stood, listening, eyes fixed on his daughter. Sophie's fingers stilled. Papa, I... Keep playing, he said quietly. Please. Sophie's eyes went wide. She looked at Eleanor. Eleanor nodded. Sophie turned back to the keys, continued her melody. Nathaniel moved into the room slowly, like approaching something fragile that might shatter. He sat near the window, said nothing, just listened. When Sophie finished, her hands fell to her lap. Silence stretched. Your mother would have loved that, Nathaniel said. His voice was rough. Sophie's face transformed. Really, really. He cleared his throat. Perhaps Lady Hartley might teach you more, if you'd like. I'd like that very much. Something shifted in the room. Not warmth, not exactly, but the beginning of something, the first crack in the ice. That evening, summons to the study. Eleanor went expecting dismissal, instructions to pack. Instead, Nathaniel gestured to a chair. Sit. Eleanor sat. He poured 2 glasses of brandy without asking, pushed one across the desk toward her. Ladies don't drink brandy, certainly not with dukes. Drink it, Nathaniel said. You look like you need it. Eleanor picked up the glass, took a sip. It burned, but the warmth was welcome. Nathaniel drank his in one swallow. I owe you an apology. Eleanor nearly dropped her glass. I beg your pardon. You were right. About Sophie. About the grief. About... His jaw worked. About me. Your Grace, I spoke out of turn? No, you spoke the truth, which no one else has had the courage to do for 3 years. He poured himself another brandy. Everyone tiptoes around me. They call me cold, controlled, perfect Duke Ravenscroft, who never loses his composure. They don't know that inside I'm... He stopped abruptly. Eleanor waited. I don't know how to be a father, he said finally. I don't know how to comfort her. Every time I try, I see Caroline's face and I... His voice cracked. He stopped, visibly collected himself. I'm making a hash of this. You're doing your best. My best is failing my daughter. Your best is learning to do better. That's all any parent can do. He looked at her then, really looked, not as a governess or a fallen lady, as a person. How do you know these things? You can't be more than... What? 25? 26. And I don't know anything. I'm terrified every single day that I'll damage Sophie worse than she already is. But I care about her, and that seems to be enough, at least for now. His eyes held hers. Something passed between them. Recognition or understanding. Stay, he said quietly. Not for a week. Stay as long as you're willing. I'll triple your salary. £40, and I'll stop interfering with your methods. I don't need £40, Your Grace. I'm not offering charity. I'm offering compensation for the hardest position in England, managing a grieving child and her impossible father. Despite everything, Eleanor smiled. When you put it that way. So you'll stay. I'll stay. Relief crossed his face so quickly she almost missed it. Thank you, Lady Hartley, truly. Eleanor, she said impulsively. When it's just us, you can call me Eleanor. His eyebrows rose. That's hardly proper. Nothing about this situation is proper, Your Grace. We might as well be honest about it. For the first time since she'd met him, Nathaniel Ashford smiled, just a slight curve of his mouth. But it transformed his face. Oh no. Oh, this is dangerous. Nathaniel, he said. When it's just us, if we're being improper. Eleanor raised her brandy glass. To impropriety, then? Nathaniel clinked his glass against hers. To honesty. They drank, and Eleanor felt the world shift beneath her feet. Just slightly. Just enough to make everything that comes next inevitable. 2 months passed. Mornings with Sophie, teaching through play music conversation, afternoons for traditional lessons reading, writing, arithmetic. But Eleanor made them engaging. History became stories. Mathematics became games. Sophie thrived, talked more, laughed more. The drawings of her mother remained, but new drawings appeared. Garden, birds, Eleanor and Sophie holding hands, and Nathaniel changed. He started joining them for dinner, just appearing one evening. May I eat in the nursery tonight? Sophie had nearly fallen off her chair. Eleanor simply set another place. Awkward at first, long silences, stilted conversation, but gradually easier. Nathaniel started telling Sophie stories about Caroline. Happy stories, funny stories. Sophie would laugh, Nathaniel would smile, and Eleanor would watch them and feel her heart do something complicated. Don't feel this. He's a duke. You're a governess. These things don't happen. Except they were happening. Moments when their hands would brush, passing a book. When their eyes would meet across the room. When Eleanor would turn and find him watching her with an expression she couldn't quite read. It means nothing. Stop imagining things. 2 months in, everything fell apart. The library. Eleanor reading to Sophie. Raised voices echoed from the entrance hall. A woman's voice. High, imperious. Where is he? I demand to see him immediately. Sophie's face went pale. Aunt Victoria. Who's Aunt Victoria? Papa's betrothed. She's horrible. Betrothed. The word hit Eleanor like a physical blow. Of course he's betrothed. Dukes marry appropriate women, not penniless governesses, not you. The door burst open. A woman swept in. Beautiful like expensive things are beautiful, perfectly dressed, perfectly coiffed, perfectly cold. Her eyes landed on Eleanor with instant dismissal, then moved to Sophie. Sophie, darling, come here. Sophie didn't move. Victoria's smile tightened. Now, child. Lady Sophie is in the middle of her lesson, Eleanor said, standing. Perhaps you might return. And who are you? Eleanor Hartley, Lady Sophie's companion. Ah, the latest governess. Victoria's gaze raked over Eleanor's simple dress, unpowdered hair. How quaint. Well, Miss Hartley, you may leave. I wish to speak with my future stepdaughter. Alone. I'm not leaving. The words came out before Eleanor could stop them. Victoria's eyes narrowed. I beg your pardon. Lady Sophie's lessons are not to be interrupted without His Grace's permission. I don't need permission from Nathaniel to see my own stepdaughter. She's not your stepdaughter yet. The temperature dropped 20 degrees. Victoria stepped forward. Her face transformed into something ugly. You forget yourself, Miss Hartley. You are a servant in this house. I am to be its mistress. When I give an order, you follow it. When you become the mistress of this house, I will consider your orders. Until then, Lady Sophie remains under my care. We'll see about that. Victoria turned and swept from the room. Slam. Sophie was shaking. Eleanor knelt beside her chair. It's all right. She'll make Papa dismiss you. She hates me. She'll send me away. She won't. I promise. You can't promise that. No one can stop her. Eleanor pulled Sophie into her arms, felt the child's heart racing against her own. Listen to me. I don't break my promises, and I promise you, I'm not going anywhere. Even though you might be lying, even though you just made an enemy of the future Duchess, even though your heart is breaking at the confirmation that he's promised to someone else. She held Sophie, felt the world she'd been building collapse. How were you foolish enough to think this could end any other way? That night. Summons to the study. Here it comes. The dismissal. Victoria demanded it. He'll comply. That's how the world works. Eleanor knocked. Enter. Nathaniel stood by the window. Back to her. Didn't turn. Victoria tells me you were insolent to her. Yes, Your Grace. She demands your immediate dismissal. I understand. Now he turned, face unreadable. Do you understand what you've done? Victoria is connected to half the peerage. One word from her, and you'll never find employment in England again. Eleanor lifted her chin. Then I suppose I'll go to Scotland. This isn't a joke, Eleanor. The use of her first name, even in anger, it makes her chest ache. I know, but I won't apologize for protecting Sophie. Your betrothed was cruel to her. She's not... He stopped abruptly. That's not the point. Then what is the point? He crossed to the desk, poured brandy with shaking hands. The point is that you've put me in an impossible position. Victoria wants you gone. Sophie will be devastated if you leave, and I... He stopped, drank, set down the glass too hard. And you what? Eleanor whispered. Nathaniel looked at her. The expression in his eyes made her breath catch. And I don't want you to go. His voice was rough. God help me, Eleanor. I don't want you to go. The words hung between them. Eleanor's heart hammered so hard she thought it might crack her ribs. Your Grace, I... Don't. He held up a hand. Don't say anything. This is madness. You work for me. I'm engaged. This is impossible. Yes, Eleanor agreed. It is. So why can't I stop thinking about you? Raw, desperate. Why do I invent reasons to see you? Why does every conversation with Victoria feel like a prison sentence, while 5 minutes with you feels like... He stopped, ran his hands through his hair. This is inappropriate. Forgive me. Eleanor knew she should leave, curtsy and retreat, and pretend this never happened. Instead, she took a step forward. What does it feel like? Eleanor, tell me. He closed his eyes. Like breathing, like coming home, like the first moment of spring after the longest winter. Oh no. This is worse than she thought, because she felt it too, had been feeling it for weeks. "Nathaniel," she whispered. His eyes opened. The look in them made her knees weak. "You should go, before I do something we'll both regret." "What if I don't want to go?" "Eleanor, please. I'm trying to be honorable here." "Why?" Sharper than intended. "You don't love her, Victoria. You don't even like her." "Love has nothing to do with it. I need an alliance. Victoria brings wealth connections, political influence. Everything a duke requires. Everything except happiness. Happiness is a luxury I can't afford." Eleanor moved closer, close enough to see gold flecks in his grey eyes, close enough to feel heat radiating from his body. "That's the saddest thing I've ever heard." "Oh, it's the truth. It's a choice. You're choosing duty over everything else. Isn't that what nobility means?" "No, fierce. Nobility means having the courage to choose what's right even when it's difficult, even when society tells you you're wrong, even when you're terrified. And what's right, Eleanor? Throwing away everything for what? For feelings, for some impossible dream that could never work. For the chance at genuine happiness. For Sophie. For yourself." She took a breath. "For us." The word hung in the air. "There is no us," Nathaniel said, but his voice lacked conviction. "There can't be." "Why not?" "You know why. You're a governess. I'm a duke. I can hire 50 like you before dinner." Eleanor quoted his own words back. "That's what you said to me. Remember." He flinched. "Eleanor." "And I walked away, because I knew my worth even when you couldn't see it, even when I was desperate, even when staying would have been easier." She moved closer still, almost touching. "So tell me, Nathaniel, do you still believe that you could replace me with 50 others?" "No," he whispered. "God, no." "Then what are you going to do about it?" They stood frozen. Eleanor could see the war in his eyes. Duty battling desire, propriety fighting passion. She held her breath. Then Nathaniel closed the distance and kissed her. Nothing gentle, nothing sweet. Desperate, fierce, weeks of repressed longing and impossible want. His hands framed her face. Eleanor's arms wrapped around his neck. They kissed like drowning people gasping for air. When they broke apart, both breathing hard, Nathaniel rested his forehead against hers. "This is madness. Yes. I'm engaged. Yes. Society will crucify us. Probably. I should send you away, right now, for your own protection." Eleanor pulled back just enough to look into his eyes. "Then do it. Say the words. Dismiss me." He stared at her, jaw working. "I can't." "Why not?" "Because I love you." Rough, almost angry. "God help me, Eleanor. I love you. I don't know when it happened or how, but somewhere between your impertinence and your kindness, between watching you with my daughter and arguing with you about everything, I fell completely and irrevocably in love with you." Eleanor's eyes filled with tears. "Nathaniel." "Tell me to stop. Tell me this is impossible and I'll find a way to let you go." "I can't." "Why not?" "Because I love you too." He kissed her again, softer this time, like a promise, like a beginning. When they broke apart, reality crashed back. Nathaniel stepped away, ran his hands through his hair. "What have we done? Been honest for once?" "Eleanor." "I have responsibilities. An engagement. Sophie's future depends on me making the right alliance." "Sophie's future depends on you being happy." on her having a home filled with love, not obligation. You make it sound so simple. It is simple. You're just afraid. He laughed. No humor. Of course I'm afraid. I'm terrified. Do you know what happens to dukes who throw away advantageous marriages for governesses? They become social pariahs. Their families suffer. Their children's prospects are destroyed. Or they become examples of what's possible when you choose courage over convention. Nathaniel looked at her with such longing it hurt. I want to believe you. God, I want to believe we could make this work. Then believe it. Fight for it. Fight for us. And Victoria, do you love her? No. Then tell her the truth. It's not that simple. Her family has influence. They could make things very difficult. Let them. We'll face it together. Nathaniel pulled her close, held her like she might disappear. You're asking me to risk everything. I'm asking you to risk everything for something real. Eleanor looked up at him. But Nathaniel, I need you to understand. I won't be your secret. I won't hide in shadows while you maintain appearances with Victoria. If you choose me completely, publicly, no matter the cost. Eleanor, the scandal. I survived my father's scandal. I survived poverty and humiliation and losing everything I thought defined me. I can survive society's disapproval. The question is, can you? He closed his eyes, hands tightening on her waist. You're not making this easy. Nothing worth having is easy. When did you become so wise? When I realized that dignity costs nothing and is worth everything. Nathaniel opened his eyes. Eleanor saw the decision in them before he spoke. All right. All right. I'll end it with Victoria. Tomorrow, I'll face whatever consequences come. Because you're right. Sophie deserves a home filled with love. And I deserve... His voice cracked. I deserve to be happy. God, what a novel concept. Eleanor laughed through tears. Quite revolutionary. Society is going to lose its mind. Probably. My mother is going to have apoplexy. Almost certainly. Half my friends will cut me. Their loss. He kissed her forehead. How are you so calm about this? I'm not calm. I'm terrified. But I'm also sure. Are you? Nathaniel looked at her, really looked, and smiled. Yes, for the first time in years, I'm absolutely certain about something. I choose you, Eleanor Hartley. Whatever comes next, I choose you. Eleanor kissed him. It felt like falling and flying, like the moment before a storm breaks, full of electricity and promise and the knowledge that everything is about to change. In that moment, standing in his arms, Eleanor knew that choosing love over security was the bravest, most foolish, most absolutely right thing she'd ever done. Whatever came next, they'd face it together. But first, she had to slap him. Because 3 days later, when Victoria arrived with half the peerage in tow, demanding Eleanor's dismissal in front of witnesses, when Nathaniel hesitated just for one moment, just long enough for Eleanor to see him calculating the political cost, she realized that love and courage were not the same thing. I can hire 50 governesses like you before dinner, he said, his voice cold, trying to placate Victoria, trying to buy time to figure out how to manage the scandal. And Eleanor's hand connected with his face before she even realized she'd moved. The slap echoed through the study like a gunshot. Then hire them, Your Grace, she said quietly. I'm sure they'll tolerate your cowardice better than I can. She walked to the door. Lady Hartley, I haven't dismissed you. No, I dismissed you. Slam. Eleanor walked down the main staircase. Past the portraits of 300 years of Ashfords, past the butler with his pitying eyes, out into the storm that had started 3 days ago and showed no signs of stopping. Behind her, she heard footsteps, running. "Eleanor! Eleanor! Wait!" She didn't stop, didn't turn, just kept walking. Let him chase you this time. Let him prove he means it. The rain soaked through her cloak in seconds. She heard him behind her calling her name. And Eleanor Hartley, who had learned that dignity cost nothing and was worth everything, who had walked away from a duke once before, did it again. Only this time she wasn't sure if he'd follow. Eleanor's boots splashed through puddles. Rain hammered down. Her cloak was already soaked through heavy pulling at her shoulders. "Don't look back. Don't look back. Keep walking." "Eleanor, for God's sake, stop!" His voice was closer now. She heard his footsteps pounding behind her, splashing through water. Let him chase you. Let him prove it. A hand caught her arm, spun her around. Nathaniel stood there, rain streaming down his face, hair plastered to his forehead, coat already drenched. He was breathing hard. "What are you doing?" he demanded. "Walking away? Again? Apparently it's becoming a habit. You slapped me. You deserved it. In front of Victoria, in front of witnesses. Do you have any idea what you've just done?" Eleanor jerked her arm free. "Do you have any idea what you just did? I can hire 50 governesses like you before dinner. You said that. To me. After everything. I was trying to buy time. No, you were calculating. I saw it in your eyes. You were weighing me against your reputation, and for one moment, just one, you hesitated. That's not fair." "Fair?" Eleanor's voice cracked. "You told me you loved me. You told me you'd choose me. And then the moment it actually cost you something, you flinched." "I didn't." He stopped, ran his hands through his wet hair. "Eleanor, please, let me explain." "There's nothing to explain." "I understand perfectly. You want me, but only if it's convenient. Only if it doesn't damage your precious standing. Well, Your Grace, I'm not convenient. I never will be." She turned to walk away again. "I broke the engagement." Eleanor froze, turned slowly. "What?" "Before I came after you, I told Victoria the engagement was over." His voice was rough. "That's why she left. That's why half the people in that room are probably composing scandal sheets right now. I broke it, Eleanor, before I ran after you." "Then why did you say—" "Because I'm an idiot." He stepped closer. "Because for 1 second, 1 stupid second, I let fear make me cruel. And I'm sorry. God, Eleanor, I'm so sorry." The rain continued to pour. They stood in the middle of the drive, both soaked, both shaking. "You hesitated," Eleanor said quietly. "Yes." "You calculated the cost." "Yes. And then I realized that losing you would cost me everything that actually matters." He moved closer still. "I chose you, Eleanor. I chose you over Victoria, over social standing, over every practical consideration that says this is madness. I chose you." Eleanor's eyes filled with tears. Or maybe it was just rain. She couldn't tell anymore. "Say something," Nathaniel whispered. "Please." "I slapped you." "I noticed." "In front of witnesses." "Also noticed." "Society is going to have an absolute field day with this." "Undoubtedly." Eleanor looked up at him. Rain dripped from her nose, her chin. She probably looked like a drowned rat. "Good." Then she kissed him. Hard. In the middle of the drive. In the pouring rain. Where anyone looking out the windows could see. Nathaniel's arms came around her, lifting her off her feet. The kiss was desperate, messy, full of rain and relief and recklessness. When they finally broke apart, both gasping, Eleanor kept her arms around his neck. "Don't ever make me walk away again." "Never. I promise. Never again. And don't you dare try to protect me by making decisions without me. Wouldn't dream of it. And if society comes after us, we face it together. I know. You've made your position abundantly clear, multiple times. He smiled. You're very emphatic when you're angry. You haven't seen emphatic yet. Is that a threat? It's a promise. He kissed her again, softer this time. Let's go inside. You're soaking wet. So are you. Yes. Well, I didn't exactly plan the dramatic chase through the rain. That was improvisation. How very un-Duke-like of you. You bring out my impulsive side. Eleanor laughed. Actually laughed. Good. Someone needs to. They walked back toward the house, his arm around her shoulders. At the door, Mrs. Henshaw stood waiting, a stack of towels in her arms and an expression that might have been approval. Your Grace, Lady Eleanor, perhaps you'd like to change before catching your death. Thank you, Mrs. Henshaw, Nathaniel said. The housekeeper handed them each a towel. Then, quietly, about time, if you ask me, though the slap was perhaps a touch dramatic. Eleanor felt her face heat. You saw that? My dear, half the household saw that. The other half heard about it within minutes. You've become something of a legend. Wonderful. I'd say so, yes. His Grace has needed someone to stand up to him for years. The late Duchess, God rest her soul, never could. Mrs. Henshaw's expression softened. She'd be pleased, I think, that he's finally choosing happiness. Then she was gone, leaving Eleanor and Nathaniel dripping in the entrance hall. Well, Eleanor said, that was mortifying. That was Mrs. Henshaw giving her blessing. Trust me, that's significant. How significant? Extremely. She's been with my family for 40 years. If she approves, the staff will follow, which means half the battle is already won. Eleanor looked up at him. And the other half? His expression sobered. Society, my family, Victoria's family, the scandal this is going to cause. He took her hand. Eleanor, I meant what I said. I choose you. But I won't lie to you about what's coming. It's going to be brutal. I know. You could still walk away. Really walk away this time. I'd give you references, money, whatever you need to start fresh somewhere. Nathaniel. What? Shut up. She kissed him again and felt him smile against her mouth. Footsteps on the stairs, small running footsteps. Papa, Papa, is it true? Did you really break your engagement with Aunt Victoria? They broke apart. Sophie stood on the landing, her face alight with hope. Nathaniel knelt down as she came closer. Yes, Sophie, it's true. Because of Eleanor. Because I love Eleanor. And because you deserve a home filled with happiness, not obligation. Sophie threw her arms around his neck. I'm so glad. I was so scared you'd make her leave. Never. He pulled back to look at his daughter. Sophie, you understand what this means. There's going to be gossip. People might say unkind things about Eleanor, about me, about our family. I don't care what they say. You might. When it affects you. When other children hear their parents talking. Papa. Sophie's voice was firm. Eleanor makes you smile. She makes you happy. She makes me happy. That's all that matters. Nathaniel's eyes glistened. He pulled Sophie close again. When did you become so wise? Eleanor taught me. She says dignity costs nothing and is worth everything. Eleanor felt her throat tighten. Sophie, The girl turned to her. "Are you going to marry Papa?" The question hung in the air. Eleanor looked at Nathaniel. He looked at her. "Sophie," he said carefully. "Eleanor and I haven't discussed—" "Yes," Eleanor interrupted. "If your papa asks me properly, I'll say yes." Sophie squealed. Nathaniel stood slowly, his eyes never leaving Eleanor's face. "Is that so?" His voice was soft, intimate, despite the audience. "That's so. Well then," he took her hand. "Eleanor Hartley, will you—" A door slammed. Footsteps echoed. Angry, rapid footsteps. Beatrice Ashford, the Dowager Duchess, swept into the entrance hall like an avenging angel. She was small, silver-haired, and utterly terrifying. "Nathaniel Alexander Ashford, what on earth have you done?" Nathaniel straightened, kept hold of Eleanor's hand. "Mother, I wasn't expecting you until next week." "Obviously, since you've apparently taken leave of your senses in my absence." Beatrice's sharp eyes moved to Eleanor. You're the governess." "Companion," Eleanor corrected quietly. "And, yes, your grace." "Don't your grace me, girl. You've bewitched my son, caused a massive scandal, and from what I hear, assaulted him in front of witnesses." "I slapped him. There's a difference." Beatrice's eyebrows shot up. "You admit it. He deserved it." "Did he now?" "Yes. He was being a coward." The silence was absolute. Sophie made a small squeaking sound. Nathaniel's hand tightened on Eleanor's. Then Beatrice laughed, actually laughed. "Good Lord, she has spirit. I'll give her that." She turned to Nathaniel. "You broke your engagement with Victoria." "Yes." "Publicly. Very publicly. The Sterlings will be furious." "I expect so." "Your grandfather will turn in his grave." "Probably." "And you don't care." Nathaniel looked at Eleanor. "Not even slightly." Beatrice studied them for a long moment. Then she sighed. "Well, at least she's not boring. Victoria was dreadfully boring. Proper, perfectly bred, utterly tedious." She moved closer to Eleanor. "Can you manage an estate?" Eleanor blinked. "I beg your pardon." "An estate. Can you manage one? Because being a duchess isn't just about looking pretty at balls. It's work. Real work." "My father ran a shipping company. I kept his books for 3 years before he died. I can read a ledger, manage accounts, and negotiate with tradesmen without being cheated." "Can you handle staff?" "I've been managing the staff's opinions of me for 2 months. Does that count?" Beatrice's mouth twitched. "What about society? The cuts, the whispers, the women who'll pretend you don't exist. I've survived worse." "Have you?" "I've buried my father, lost my home, and watched creditors auction off my mother's jewelry piece by piece. I think I can handle some disapproving matrons." Beatrice turned to Nathaniel. "She's stronger than Caroline was." "Mother, I'm not criticizing Caroline. God rest her, but she was fragile. This one—" She gestured to Eleanor. "This one has steel in her spine. You'll need that for what's coming." "Does that mean you approve?" Nathaniel asked carefully. "Approve, no. I think you're both mad. This is going to be a nightmare. The scandal alone will take years to overcome." She paused. "But I don't disapprove either." "At least you're finally showing some passion about something. You've been dead inside since Caroline passed. If this girl can make you feel alive again, then perhaps the scandal is worth it." Eleanor felt tears prick her eyes. "Thank you, Your Grace." "Don't thank me yet. I'm not going to make this easy for you. If you're going to be a duchess, you'll be a proper one. I'll teach you everything you need to know, and I won't be gentle about it." "I wouldn't expect you to be." "Good." Beatrice turned toward the stairs. Now all of you go change before you catch pneumonia. And Nathaniel, next time you plan to destroy your engagement and propose to a governess, perhaps give your mother some warning. I had to hear about it from Lady Westbrook's butler." She swept up the stairs, leaving them standing in stunned silence. Sophie was the first to speak. "Is Grandmama always like that?" "Yes," Nathaniel said. "Always. I like her. God help us all." Eleanor started laughing. She couldn't help it. The whole situation was absurd. She'd slapped a duke, kissed him in the rain, agreed to marry him, and somehow gained his formidable mother's conditional approval, all in the space of 20 minutes. Nathaniel looked at her. "You're laughing. It's either laugh or cry, and I'm tired of crying." He pulled her close, not caring that they were still dripping wet, that Sophie was watching, that servants were undoubtedly peeking from doorways. "I love you. I love you too, even when you're being an idiot. Especially when I'm being an idiot. No, just even then." Sophie tugged on Eleanor's wet skirt. "Can I be in the wedding?" Eleanor knelt down, not caring about the puddle forming around her. "Of course you can. You'll be the most important person there, besides your papa and me." "Really? Really? Because none of this would have happened if you hadn't locked that door 2 months ago. If you hadn't decided to give me a chance." Sophie threw her arms around Eleanor's neck. "I'm so happy you stayed." "Me too, sweetheart. Me too." Over Sophie's head, Eleanor met Nathaniel's eyes, saw the love there, the fear, the determination. This wasn't going to be easy. Society was going to be vicious. There would be cuts, whispers, doors closed in their faces, but they'd face it together. And that, Eleanor thought as Sophie squeezed her tighter, was worth any scandal. Later that evening, after they'd all changed into dry clothes after Sophie had finally been persuaded to go to bed, Eleanor found herself back in Nathaniel's study. The same room where this had all begun, where he'd catalogued her failures, and she'd walked out on him. It felt like a lifetime ago. Nathaniel handed her a glass of brandy, their new ritual. Nervous, terrified. Second thoughts, not even one. She took a sip. "You? About marrying you, never. About what I'm subjecting you to constantly. Stop trying to protect me. I can't help it. It's instinct." Eleanor set down her glass and moved to stand in front of him. "Listen to me. I'm not Caroline. I don't need protecting. I need a partner. Someone who trusts me to be strong enough to handle whatever comes. I know that. Rationally, I know that. But I also know what society can do to people, how cruel it can be, how relentless." His hand came up to cup her face. "I don't want to watch you hurt." "Then don't watch. Hurt with me. Be angry with me. Stand beside me, not in front of me." He closed his eyes. "You make it sound so simple." "It is simple. You're just used to carrying everything alone. For good reason. When I didn't. When I let myself need Caroline, depend on her, and then she died." His voice cracked. "I couldn't breathe, Eleanor. For months I couldn't breathe. I had to become this cold, controlled thing just to survive. And now you're asking me to open up again, to be vulnerable again, and I'm terrified." Eleanor finished softly. "I know. So am I." "You don't seem terrified." "That's because I'm an excellent actress. Inside, I'm absolutely panicking." She took his hand, pressed it to her chest. "Feel that. My heart is racing. Because I love you, and love is terrifying. But I'd rather be terrified with you than safe without you." Nathaniel pulled her into his arms, held her so tight it almost hurt. "What did I do to deserve you? You gave me a chance when no one else would. You saw me, really saw me, when everyone else just saw a desperate woman in a wet cloak. I saw a woman who refused to be diminished, who walked away rather than accept being treated as less than she was worth. He pulled back to look at her. You were magnificent. I was terrified. You can be both. Eleanor smiled. Yes, I'm learning that. A knock on the door. Mrs. Henshaw entered without waiting for permission. Your Grace, Lord Sterling is here. He's demanding to see you. Nathaniel's face went cold. Victoria's father. Yes, Your Grace. He's in quite a state. Should I tell him you're indisposed? No, show him in. He looked at Eleanor. You should go. Not a chance. Eleanor, we just discussed this. Partner, remember, beside you, not behind you. He's going to say terrible things about you, about us. Then he'll say them to both of us. Nathaniel looked like he wanted to argue, but something in Eleanor's face must have convinced him. All right, together. Mrs. Henshaw left, returned moments later with Lord Sterling. He was a large man, red-faced with the kind of anger that came from entitlement. The moment he saw Eleanor, his face went purple. You out now! Eleanor stayed exactly where she was. I'm afraid I can't do that, my lord. I wasn't asking. I'm here to speak with His Grace privately. And I'm here because anything you have to say to me, you can say in front of Lady Eleanor. Nathaniel interrupted. His voice was cold-controlled. The Duke, again, not the man. She's my betrothed. Betrothed? Sterling spat the word. You've broken your engagement to my daughter, humiliated her in front of half of society for this, a penniless governess. Companion, Eleanor corrected. And yes. Sterling ignored her completely, addressed Nathaniel as though she wasn't there. I came here as a courtesy, to give you one chance to rectify this disaster. Break it off with her. Apologize to Victoria. We'll say it was a momentary madness brought on by stress. No. Think about what you're doing. Victoria brings wealth, connections, political influence. This woman brings nothing. She's nobody. She's everything, Nathaniel said quietly. And she's standing right here. If you can't address her with respect, then this conversation is over. Sterling's face went even redder. You're throwing away your future for, I'm choosing my future. There's a difference. The scandal will pass, eventually. Your reputation will recover, or it won't. Either way, I'll have Eleanor. Sterling turned to Eleanor finally. His eyes were full of contempt. You've bewitched him. Used your position to seduce. Stop. Nathaniel's voice was sharp. One more word like that and I'll have you removed from my house. Your house. Your house. When my family's money paid for half the improvements. Then consider it a poor investment. Nathaniel moved to stand beside Eleanor. His hand found hers. Lord Sterling, I'm sorry your daughter was hurt. Truly. But I can't marry her. I don't love her. I love Eleanor. And no amount of money or social pressure is going to change that. You'll regret this. Perhaps. But I'd regret the alternative more. Sterling stared at them for a long moment. Then he smiled. It was not a pleasant smile. You think this is over? You think you can just walk away from my family without consequences? I don't think it will be easy, no. Easy, boy, you have no idea what's coming. By the time I'm finished, no respectable family in England will receive you. Your daughter will be unmarriageable. Your business ventures will collapse. And you, he pointed at Eleanor, you'll wish you'd stayed in whatever gutter Ravenscroft found you in. Eleanor felt ice run down her spine, but she kept her voice steady. Are you quite finished, my lord? Sterling blinked. What? Are you finished with your threats? Because if so, I believe His Grace asked you to leave. You little Lord Sterling. Mrs. Henshaw appeared in the doorway. Your carriage is waiting. Sterling looked between them, his face twisted with rage. You'll both pay for this, I promise you that. Then he was gone. The study door slammed behind him. Eleanor waited until his footsteps faded before her knees went weak. Nathaniel caught her, guided her to a chair. Breathe, he murmured. Just breathe. That was exactly what I was afraid of, and he meant every word, Eleanor. He has the connections to do real damage. I know. You could still. Nathaniel, stop. I'm not leaving you because some pompous lord made threats. If I did that, I'd be proving him right, that I don't belong in your world, that I'm not strong enough for this. She looked up at him. I am strong enough. We both are. He pulled her to her feet into his arms. I don't deserve you. You're right. You don't. But you're stuck with me anyway. Despite everything, he laughed. God, I love you. I know. You keep saying it. I'm starting to believe you mean it. Starting to. Well, you haven't proposed properly yet, without interruptions, so I'm reserving final judgment. Nathaniel pulled back a smile playing at his mouth. Is that so? That's so. Right now, after Lord Sterling just threatened to destroy us. Especially now. Show me you meant what you said, that no amount of pressure will change your mind. For a moment, Nathaniel just looked at her. Then, slowly, deliberately, he dropped to one knee. Eleanor's breath caught. Eleanor Hartley, he said quietly, you walked into my life 2 months ago, dripping wet, desperate for work, and proceeded to turn everything upside down. You challenged me, infuriated me, taught me how to be a father again, and made me remember what it feels like to be human. I love you, not despite the scandal, not despite the consequences, but because of who you are. Because you're brave and honest and refuse to be diminished by anyone, including me. His hand reached into his pocket, pulled out a ring, simple gold with a single sapphire. This was my grandmother's. She gave it to me before she died and told me to save it for someone who would fight for me the way she fought for my grandfather, someone who wouldn't let society dictate her choices, someone strong. He held it out. I think she'd like you. I think she'd be proud that I finally found someone worth fighting for. So, Eleanor Hartley, will you marry me? Will you face the scandal and the threats and the whispers with me? Will you be my partner, my equal, my duchess? Eleanor looked down at him. At this proud, complicated man who'd learned to be vulnerable again, who'd chosen her over everything he'd been raised to value, who was offering her not just a title, but a genuine partnership. Yes, she whispered. Yes, I'll marry you. He slid the ring onto her finger. It fit perfectly. Then he stood, pulled her into his arms, and kissed her, like they had all the time in the world. When they finally broke apart, Eleanor rested her forehead against his. So, when should we tell Sophie? Sophie, my love, Sophie's probably listening at the door right now. Is not, Sophie's voice came from the corridor, followed by giggles and the sound of small feet running away. Eleanor laughed. Your daughter needs to work on her stealth skills. Noted. I'll add it to her lessons, along with how to not interrupt important moments. Good luck with that. I'll need it. He kissed her forehead. What are you thinking? Eleanor looked at the ring on her finger, thought about Lord Sterling's threats, about the scandal coming, about every door that would close in their faces. I'm thinking that I just agreed to marry a duke, face social ruin, and raise a precocious 7-year-old who clearly inherited her father's terrible timing. And I've never been more certain of anything in my life. Nathaniel pulled her close again, and Eleanor let herself sink into the embrace, storing up strength for the battles ahead, because they were coming. Lord Sterling would make good on his threats. Society would be vicious. There would be mornings when getting out of bed felt impossible, when the weight of judgment felt crushing. But there would also be mornings with Sophie's laughter, evenings in Nathaniel's arms, moments of joy stolen from the chaos. And that, Eleanor thought, as she felt Nathaniel's heart beating against hers, would be enough. It would have to be. The wedding was set for 6 weeks later, 6 weeks that felt like 6 years. Lord Sterling made good on every threat. The first blow came 3 days after the engagement announcement. Nathaniel's business partner withdrew from their shipping venture. No explanation, just a terse letter citing irreconcilable differences in judgment. "He means you," Nathaniel said, setting down the letter. His voice was carefully neutral. Sterling got to him. Eleanor's hands clenched in her lap. "How much will this cost you?" "Financially, £12,000 at least, maybe more." 12,000. More than her father's entire debt, gone because Nathaniel had chosen her. "I'm sorry," she whispered. "Don't." He crossed to her, tilted her chin up. "Don't apologize for something that isn't your fault. I made this choice with my eyes open." "But I didn't realize." "Yes, you did. We both did. And we're going to face it together, remember?" Eleanor nodded. But that night, alone in her room, she cried into her pillow until her ribs ached. The second blow came a week later. Invitations to 3 major social events were rescinded. Polite notes citing unforeseen circumstances and regrettable miscommunications. Beatrice read them with pursed lips. The Havertons, the Blackwoods, and the Chestersons, all 3 families have business dealings with Sterling. He's calling in favours. "Will it get worse?" Eleanor asked. "Much worse. This is just the beginning." Beatrice looked at her. "Are you having second thoughts?" "No." "Don't lie to me, girl. I can see it in your eyes. The doubt." Eleanor's throat tightened. "I'm not doubting Nathaniel. I'm doubting myself. Whether I'm worth all this destruction. And what does my son say when you voice these doubts? I haven't told him. Why not? Because he's already sacrificing so much. I won't burden him with my insecurities too." Beatrice set down the letters with a sharp snap. "Listen to me. Marriage isn't about shielding each other from difficult emotions. It's about sharing them. If you start hiding your doubts now, you'll build a wall between you that will only grow higher. But what if my doubts make him doubt? What if he realizes this was a mistake? Then he realizes it. But Eleanor, that man looks at you like you hung the moon. He's not going to suddenly change his mind because you admit to being human." Beatrice's expression softened slightly. "Talk to him. Trust him with your fears. That's what love is." That evening, Eleanor found Nathaniel in his study, bent over ledgers. His expression was grim. "Bad?" she asked quietly. "2 more business associates have withdrawn, and the bank is suddenly very interested in reviewing our accounts." He looked up. "Sterling's thorough, I'll give him that." Eleanor's chest tightened. "Nathaniel, I need to ask you something." "Anything." "Do you regret this, even a little?" He set down his pen. "Where is this coming from? From watching everything you've built start to crumble? From knowing that in 6 weeks when we marry, it will only get worse?" "Eleanor, please, just answer honestly. Do you regret choosing me?" Nathaniel stood, moved around the desk, took her hands in his. "Look at me." She did. "I regret that loving you comes at such a high price. I regret that society is cruel and vindictive and small-minded. I regret that you have to suffer because of their pettiness." His grip tightened. "But do I regret choosing you? Never. Not for 1 second. You are the best thing that has ever happened to me. and I would lose everything twice over before I'd give you up. Tears spilled down Eleanor's cheeks. I'm scared. So am I. You don't look scared. I'm excellent at pretending. Years of practice. He pulled her close. But inside, I'm terrified. Of failing you, of failing Sophie, of watching this all collapse and knowing I could have prevented it if I'd just been willing to marry without love. And yet, you're still here. And yet I'm still here. Because being terrified with you is better than being safe without you. You told me that, remember? Eleanor laughed through her tears. I did, didn't I? You did, and you were right. He kissed her forehead. We'll get through this, Eleanor. Together. She wanted to believe him. God, she wanted to believe him, but the blows kept coming. 3 weeks before the wedding, Sophie came home from her lesson with the vicar's daughter in tears. What happened? Eleanor demanded, kneeling beside the sobbing child. Mary said she said... Sophie hiccuped. She said her mamma told her she can't play with me anymore because you're a fortune hunter who seduced Papa and I'm going to grow up wicked like you. White-hot rage flooded Eleanor's veins. She said what... Nathaniel appeared in the doorway. Sophie, what's wrong? The vicar's wife is spreading poison about Eleanor, Beatrice said sharply from behind him, and her daughter repeated it to Sophie. Nathaniel's face went dangerously cold. I'll speak to the vicar. No, Eleanor said. I'll speak to him. Eleanor, that's not... Not what? Not appropriate. Not my place. She stood still, holding Sophie's hand. That woman just called me a fortune hunter to a 7-year-old child. I'm going to have words with her. Let me come with you. No. This is my fight. She looked at him. You can't protect me from everything, Nathaniel, and you can't fight all my battles. Some of them I have to face myself. She saw the struggle in his eyes, the desire to shield her warring with respect for her independence. All right, he said finally, but if she says one more cruel thing, you walk out. Promise me. I promise. The vicarage was a 15-minute walk. 15 minutes for Eleanor's rage to build into something white-hot and controlled. Mrs. Thornton answered the door herself. Her face paled when she saw Eleanor. Lady Hartley, I wasn't expecting... No, I imagine you weren't. May I come in? I'm not sure this is a good time. Make time. Eleanor's voice was steel. Unless you'd prefer I discuss your daughter's cruel behaviour to Lady Sophie in the village square where everyone can hear. Mrs. Thornton stepped back. Eleanor entered. The sitting room was modest but comfortable. Mrs. Thornton perched on the edge of a chair. Eleanor remained standing. Your daughter told Lady Sophie that I'm a fortune hunter who seduced the Duke, that Sophie will grow up wicked like me. Eleanor's voice was level, controlled. I want to know why you're spreading vicious lies about me to children. I didn't mean Mary must have misunderstood. Don't lie to me. Children don't invent phrases like fortune hunter and seduced. She heard you say those exact words. Mrs. Thornton's face flushed. Lady Hartley, you must understand. There's been talk in the village. People are concerned about His Grace's judgment. His Grace's judgment is none of the village's concern. But Lady Sophie's welfare is, and exposing her to inappropriate influences. Inappropriate influences? Eleanor's voice dropped to dangerous softness. You mean me? A woman who loves a man and agreed to marry him. That's the inappropriate influence you're worried about. You were his employee. You used your position to what? To care for his grieving daughter, to help him learn to smile again, to refuse to accept being treated as less than human. Eleanor took a step closer. Let me tell you what I used my position for, Mrs. Thornton. I used it to give Sophie back her childhood. I used it to teach her that expressing grief is healthy, not shameful. I used it to show her that women can be strong and kind at the same time. But the impropriety, the only impropriety here is you poisoning a child's mind with gossip and lies. Eleanor's hands clenched at her sides. I don't care what you think of me. I don't care if you believe I'm a fortune hunter or a seductress, or whatever other nonsense Lord Stirling has been spreading, but you will not involve Sophie in your petty vindictiveness. Mrs. Thornton stood, drawing herself up. I think you should leave. I think you should apologize to Sophie today. I will do no such thing. Then explain to your husband why His Grace will no longer be making his annual donation to the church. Explain why the vicar is no longer welcome at Ravenscroft Manor. Explain why the patronage your family has enjoyed for 3 generations has suddenly ended. Mrs. Thornton's face went white. You wouldn't try me. Your choice, Mrs. Thornton. Apologize to Sophie or watch your husband's position crumble. That's blackmail. No, that's consequences. Something you should have considered before you decided to hurt a child to satisfy your sense of moral superiority. Eleanor turned toward the door, paused. And Mrs. Thornton, if I hear of you spreading one more lie about me, one more unkind word that reaches Sophie's ears, I will make it my personal mission to ensure everyone in this county knows exactly how Christian charity looks when filtered through your particular brand of judgment. She left, walked back toward the manor with her head high and her hands shaking. Nathaniel met her halfway. I couldn't wait. I was worried, Eleanor. Are you crying? She was. Tears streaming down her face even as she walked with perfect posture. I'm furious. I'm heartbroken. I'm terrified. And I'm so damn tired of this. He pulled her into his arms right there on the road where anyone could see. What happened? Eleanor told him. Everything. Every word exchanged, every threat made. When she finished, Nathaniel was silent for a long moment. Then, did you really threaten to destroy her husband's position? Yes. And you'd follow through in a heartbeat. He pulled back to look at her. You're magnificent when you're ruthless. Despite everything, Eleanor laughed. I learned from watching you. I never threatened a vicar's wife. Only because you didn't have to. She'd never have dared speak to you the way she spoke to me. Nathaniel's jaw tightened. That's going to change. After we're married, anyone who disrespects you will answer to me personally. I can fight my own battles. I know, but you shouldn't have to fight them alone. He took her hand. Come on, let's go home. Sophie's been worried. That evening, Mrs. Thornton appeared at the manor. She apologized to Sophie with visible reluctance, her words stiff and clearly forced. But she apologized. Sophie accepted with the grace of someone far older than 7. Thank you, Mrs. Thornton. I forgive you. After she left, Sophie looked at Eleanor. You made her come, didn't you? I suggested it would be in her best interest. Grandmama says that's how ladies threaten people, by suggesting things. Beatrice smiled from her seat by the fire. The child is learning well. Should I be concerned that my 7-year-old daughter is learning political manipulation? Nathaniel asked. She's going to be a duchess's stepdaughter, Beatrice said. She needs every weapon she can get. Society is a battlefield. 2 weeks before the wedding, the worst blow came. Nathaniel's solicitor arrived unannounced. His face was grim. Your Grace, we need to speak, privately. They closeted themselves in the study. Eleanor waited in the library, trying to read, failing completely. An hour passed. 2. Finally, Nathaniel emerged. His face was ashen. What happened? Eleanor demanded. Stirling has convinced 3 of my creditors to call in their loans, simultaneously. His voice was hollow. I have 60 days to produce £48,000, or they'll foreclose on the estate. The number hung in the air, like a death sentence. 48,000, Eleanor repeated numbly. Can you raise it? Not without selling everything. The manor, the London house, all the land, everything my family has built for 300 years. He sank into a chair. He's going to destroy me, Eleanor, completely. Eleanor's mind raced. £48,000. An impossible sum, more than most people saw in a lifetime. What if we postponed the wedding? She asked quietly. Nathaniel's head snapped up. What, if we postponed, if you went to Sterling, apologized, offered to reconcile with Victoria? No, absolutely not. Nathaniel, listen to me. You could lose everything. I don't care. Yes, you do. This manor, this legacy, Sophie's future, are worth nothing without you. He stood crossed to her. Eleanor, I know what you're doing. You're trying to save me by sacrificing yourself, and I love you for it. But I won't let you. You're being stubborn. I'm being honest. I would rather live in a cottage with you than in a palace without you. I would rather be penniless and happy than wealthy and miserable. And I will not let Sterling win by turning me into the kind of man who trades love for money. But Sophie needs a father who shows her that integrity matters more than wealth, that love is worth fighting for even when the cost is high. He took Eleanor's hands. We'll find another way. What other way? There is no other way. There's always another way. We just haven't thought of it yet. Eleanor wanted to believe him, but £48,000. Where would they even begin? That night, she couldn't sleep. She paced her room, mind spinning through possibilities, each more impossible than the last. A knock on her door, soft, hesitant. Come in. Beatrice entered, still fully dressed, despite the late hour. I thought you might be awake. I can't stop thinking about the loans. Nor can I. Beatrice sat on the edge of Eleanor's bed. Which is why I've made a decision. I'm going to sell my dowry property. Eleanor stared at her. Your what? My dowry property. When I married Nathaniel's father, my family provided a substantial estate in Berkshire. It's been generating income for 40 years. It's worth approximately £50,000. That's your security, your independence. You can't. I can, and I will, because my son is finally happy, and I'll be damned if I let some vindictive lord destroy that happiness. Tears filled Eleanor's eyes. Your Grace, I can't let you. You can't stop me. The property is mine to do with as I wish, and I wish to use it to save my family. Beatrice's expression softened. Eleanor, you've given Nathaniel back his life. You've given Sophie back her father. You've made this cold house feel like a home again. That's worth far more than money. But you'll have nothing. I'll have a son who's happy, a granddaughter who's thriving, and a daughter-in-law who's brave enough to fight society for love. That's more than most people have. She stood. The papers will be drawn up tomorrow. The property will sell quickly. The crisis will pass. Eleanor stood too, threw her arms around Beatrice. Thank you. Thank you so much. Beatrice patted her back awkwardly. Yes, well, don't make me regret it by turning into a tiresome duchess. I have standards. Despite the tears, Eleanor laughed. I'll try to live up to them. See that you do? Beatrice pulled back her eyes, suspiciously bright. Now go to sleep. You look dreadful, and we can't have you looking dreadful for the wedding. People will think Nathaniel's marrying you out of pity. The next morning, Eleanor told Nathaniel about his mother's offer. She watched relief, gratitude, and guilt war across his face. I can't let her do this, he said finally. You can't stop her. I tried. Eleanor, that property is her security. If something happens to me, then she'll live here with us, with her family. Eleanor took his hands. Nathaniel let her do this. Let her give you this gift, because if you refuse, you'll be telling her that her sacrifice doesn't matter, that her love isn't enough. He closed his eyes. When did you become so wise? When I realized that accepting help isn't weakness, it's trust. She pulled him close. We're going to be okay. Your mother is saving the estate. We're getting married in 2 weeks, and Sterling can go to hell. Nathaniel laughed shakily. Such language from my future Duchess. You better get used to it. I'm told I become quite emphatic when I'm angry. I've noticed. The next week passed in a blur. Beatrice's property sold quickly. The loans were satisfied. The crisis passed. But the scandal didn't. A week before the wedding, Eleanor went to the village to collect ribbon for Sophie's dress. She'd been measured for 3 gowns, courtesy of Beatrice, who refused to let her grandson's wife marry in anything pedestrian, but Sophie's dress needed final alterations. The modiste's shop was busy. Eleanor waited her turn, pretending not to notice the whispers, the pointed looks. That's her, the fortune hunter. I heard she was his daughter's governess. Shameless. Poor Lady Victoria, humiliated like that. Eleanor kept her chin high, her expression neutral. She'd learned that reacting only encouraged them. The modiste served her quickly, efficiently, without meeting her eyes. Eleanor paid, took the ribbon, and left. Outside, a woman was waiting, tall, elegant, with Victoria's sharp features. Lady Sterling, Victoria's mother. Lady Hartley. How convenient. Eleanor's heart sank, but she kept her voice level. Lady Sterling. I wanted to see the woman who destroyed my daughter's future, to understand what could possibly be so special about a penniless governess that a duke would risk everything. I'm not going to engage in this conversation. No, I suppose you wouldn't. It's easier to hide behind His Grace's protection than face what you've done. Eleanor felt her temper stir. What I've done, I fell in love. That's all. I didn't plot, I didn't scheme, I didn't seduce. I simply refused to be treated as less than human, and apparently that was enough. You took advantage. I took nothing. Your daughter had no claim on Nathaniel's heart. An engagement isn't a marriage. And from what I observed, she treated Sophie with casual cruelty and Nathaniel with cold calculation. If you want to blame someone for the broken engagement, blame the fact that your daughter couldn't be bothered to pretend affection for his child. Lady Sterling's face went white, then red. You dare? Yes, I dare, because I'm tired of being blamed for choices I didn't make. Nathaniel chose to end his engagement. He chose to propose to me. I didn't force him, manipulate him, or trick him. I simply loved him honestly. If your daughter had done the same, perhaps things would have ended differently. You've ruined her. No one will marry her now. Then perhaps she should have been kinder. Perhaps she should have treated people with respect instead of entitlement. Perhaps she should have realized that being born to privilege doesn't make you better than everyone else. Eleanor took a breath. I'm sorry your daughter is hurting, truly, but I won't apologize for loving Nathaniel, and I won't pretend I should have stepped aside so he could marry someone who made him miserable. She walked past Lady Sterling, head high, hands shaking. Behind her, Lady Sterling called out, You think you've won, but this isn't over. You'll never be accepted. Every door will close in your face. You'll spend your life on the outside looking in, knowing you're the reason for your husband's social destruction. Eleanor stopped, turned back. You're right. Many doors will close. Many people will cut us. But the ones who matter, the ones who value character over convention, will open their doors wider. And those are the only people worth knowing. She walked away, didn't look back. That evening she told Nathaniel what happened. watched his face go through rage, pride, and resignation. "I'm sorry," he said quietly. "You shouldn't have to face that alone." "I wasn't alone. I had your love, your mother's example, and Sophie's faith. That's more than enough." "Eleanor, I mean it. Yes, today was hard. Tomorrow will probably be harder. But I'd rather face 1,000 Lady Sterlings with you than live comfortably without you." She pulled him close. 5 more days, 5 more days, and then no one can question my place at your side." Nathaniel held her tight. 5 more days, and then you're stuck with me forever. Sounds perfect. But perfect was still 5 days away, and in that time the world would get one more chance to tear them apart. 3 days before the wedding, everything fell apart one final time. Eleanor woke to urgent knocking. Mrs. Henshaw's voice strained, terrified. "Lady Eleanor, come quickly! It's Lady Sophie!" Eleanor threw on a robe, ran barefoot down the corridor. Sophie's room. The door stood open. Inside, chaos. Sophie convulsing on the floor. Nathaniel holding her, his face white with terror. Beatrice barking orders at a footman. "Get the doctor, now! Run!" Eleanor dropped to her knees beside them. "What happened?" "I don't know. She was fine at dinner. I checked on her an hour ago. She was sleeping." Nathaniel's voice cracked. "Then I heard screaming. By the time I got here, she was—" He couldn't finish. Sophie's body went rigid. Her eyes rolled back. Foam flecked her lips. "Sophie, Sophie, sweetheart, stay with us." Eleanor grabbed her hand, felt it ice cold. "Nathaniel, when did this start?" 10 minutes ago, maybe 15. I don't know. Time, I can't think." "Focus. Did she eat anything unusual? Drink anything?" "Just her bedtime chocolate, same as always. Mrs. Henshaw brings it every night." His face went sheet white. The chocolate. Eleanor's blood turned to ice. "Where is it?" "There, on the nightstand." Eleanor grabbed the cup, sniffed. Beneath the chocolate smell, something bitter. Acrid. "Poison?" she whispered. Beatrice's face went hard as stone. "Mrs. Henshaw, where did this chocolate come from?" The housekeeper appeared in the doorway, wringing her hands. "The kitchen." "Your Grace, same as always. I prepared it myself." "Who had access to the kitchen this evening?" "Everyone, Your Grace. The usual staff, and—" She hesitated. "And who—" Nathaniel's voice was dangerous. "Lady Victoria came by this afternoon. She asked to speak with Cook about menus for her upcoming dinner party. She was alone in the kitchen for perhaps 5 minutes while Cook fetched recipe books." Victoria. Eleanor felt rage like she'd never known. "She poisoned Sophie." "We don't know that," Mrs. Henshaw started. "Yes, we do." Beatrice's voice was steel. "Send for the magistrate. Immediately." The doctor arrived. Examined Sophie, administered charcoal and ipecac. Sophie vomited, convulsed again, then lay frighteningly still. "Will she live?" Nathaniel's voice was barely audible. "I don't know, Your Grace. The next few hours are critical, if the poison has reached her vital organs." He didn't finish. Eleanor sat on one side of Sophie's bed, Nathaniel on the other. They held her small hands and waited. Dawn came. Sophie didn't wake. Eleanor's eyes burned. Her throat ached, but she didn't cry. Crying was a luxury she couldn't afford. Sophie needed her strong. "This is my fault," Nathaniel said suddenly. His voice was hollow. "I chose you over Victoria. I humiliated her family, and now Sophie—" "Don't!" Eleanor's voice was sharp. "Don't you dare blame yourself. Victoria did this. Not you, not me." "Victoria, But if I had just what married her spent your life miserable, taught Sophie that love doesn't matter, only duty and appearances. Eleanor's grip on Sophie's hand tightened. No, you made the right choice. Victoria made the evil one. Beatrice entered with tea. Neither of them touched it. The magistrate is here, she said quietly. He wants to speak with you both. They left Sophie with a maid, went downstairs. The magistrate was a serious man named Pemberton. He listened to their account with growing horror. These are grave accusations, he said finally. Do you have proof? The chocolate, Eleanor said. Test it. You'll find poison. And Lady Victoria's presence in the kitchen. Multiple witnesses can confirm it, Beatrice said. Pemberton nodded slowly. I'll need to question Lady Victoria and His Grace the Earl of Stirling. This could become complicated. Complicated. Nathaniel's voice was deadly quiet. His daughter tried to murder my child. There's nothing complicated about that. Your Grace, with respect, Lord Stirling has considerable influence. I don't care if he's the King of England. His daughter poisoned Sophie. She will answer for it. Pemberton left, promised to return with answers. They went back to Sophie, still unconscious, still so terribly, frighteningly still. Noon came, then evening. Sophie's breathing grew shallow. The doctor returned, looked grave, said there was nothing more he could do. I'm sorry, Your Grace. If she doesn't wake by morning. He left the rest unsaid. Eleanor felt something break inside her. This beautiful, brave child who'd opened her door to a stranger, who'd learned to laugh again, to trust again, who'd called Eleanor a friend. She was losing her. No! The word came out fierce. No! She's not dying. I won't let her. Eleanor? Nathaniel's voice was broken. No, listen to me. Sophie is a fighter. She survived losing her mother. She survived a year of being called troubled and difficult. She survived her own father being too afraid to love her properly. Eleanor leaned close to Sophie's ear. And she's going to survive this. Because she's stronger than any poison, stronger than Victoria's hatred, stronger than all of this. She squeezed Sophie's hand. Sophie, sweetheart, I know you can hear me. And I need you to fight. I need you to come back. Because your papa and I are getting married in 3 days, and you promised to be in the wedding. You promised. And you don't break promises, remember. That's what you told me, so you have to wake up. You have to. Nothing. No response. No flutter of eyelids. Eleanor's voice cracked. Please, Sophie. Please don't leave us. I love you. Your papa loves you. We need you. I need you. You're the reason I stayed, the reason I fought for this. If you hadn't opened that door 2 months ago, none of this would exist. You gave me a family. You gave your father back his heart. You can't... She couldn't continue. Nathaniel took over, his voice raw. Sophie, it's Papa. I'm here. Eleanor's here. Grandmama's here. We're all here and we're not leaving. We're never leaving. And I need you to know something. I need you to know that you are the best thing that ever happened to me, even before Eleanor. You are my heart, my joy, my reason for everything. And if you leave me... His voice broke completely. I won't survive it. So please, my darling girl, please come back. Silence. Just the sound of shallow breathing. Eleanor laid her head on the bed beside Sophie's hand, felt Nathaniel's hand cover hers. They stayed like that, both of them holding Sophie between them. Hours passed. Midnight came. Then, so faint, Eleanor almost missed it a squeeze. Sophie's fingers tightening around hers. Eleanor's head snapped up. Nathaniel! Nathaniel, she moved. What? Her hand. She squeezed my hand. They both stared at Sophie's face. Nothing. Then there, a flutter of eyelids. "Sophie?" Nathaniel leaned close. "Sophie, can you hear me?" Another flutter. Then slowly, agonizingly slowly, Sophie's eyes opened. "Papa." Her voice was barely a whisper. "Eleanor." Eleanor burst into tears. Couldn't help it. Relief so overwhelming she thought she might collapse. Yes, sweetheart. We're here. I had a bad dream. About chocolate." Sophie's eyes struggled to focus. "Why does my stomach hurt?" "Because you're a fighter," Eleanor said, laughing and crying at once. "You're the bravest person I know." Nathaniel gathered Sophie into his arms, careful of her fragile state. "Don't ever scare me like that again. Do you hear me? Never." "I'm sorry, Papa." No, you have nothing to apologize for." He pulled back to look at her. "Are you in pain? Should I get the doctor?" "I'm okay, just tired." Sophie looked between them. "Why are you both crying?" "Because we love you," Eleanor said simply. "So much." Sophie smiled weakly. "I love you too, both of you." Then her eyes drifted closed again, but this time it was sleep. Natural healing sleep. The doctor confirmed it an hour later. "She's out of danger. The poison has passed through her system. She'll be weak for several days, but she'll recover fully." Eleanor sank into a chair, suddenly boneless. They'd been so close to losing her. So terribly, impossibly close. Nathaniel knelt beside her chair, took her hands. "You brought her back." "We both did." "No, you. You refused to let her go. You fought for her." His eyes glistened. "Like you fought for me. Like you fight for everything you love." Eleanor touched his face. "That's what family does." "Yes, that's exactly what family does." The magistrate returned the next morning with news. Victoria had been questioned, had broken down under pressure and confessed everything. "She obtained arsenic from a chemist claiming it was for rats," Pemberton said. "She admits to putting it in Lady Sophie's chocolate. She says—" He hesitated. "Say it," Nathaniel demanded. "She says she wanted to punish you, to make you suffer as she had suffered. She believed that losing your daughter would be appropriate revenge for the humiliation you caused her family." The room went very still, very cold. "Where is she now?" Nathaniel's voice was deadly calm. "In custody. His Grace Lord Stirling has been informed. He's demanding we release her immediately, claiming temporary insanity brought on by the stress of the broken engagement." Temporary insanity. Eleanor felt rage building again. "She tried to murder a 7-year-old child. That's not insanity. That's evil." "I agree, Lady Eleanor. Which is why I've refused Lord Stirling's demands. Lady Victoria will stand trial for attempted murder." Pemberton looked at Nathaniel. "I must warn you, Your Grace, this trial will be extraordinarily public. Every sordid detail will be in the newspapers. Your broken engagement, Lady Eleanor's position in your household, the circumstances leading to Lady Victoria's actions, all of it will be examined." "Let them examine," Nathaniel said. "I don't care anymore. All I care about is justice for Sophie. And you'll have it. I promise you that." After Pemberton left, Nathaniel and Eleanor returned to Sophie's room. She was awake, sitting up, eating broth. "Papa, I heard voices." "Was that the magistrate?" Nathaniel hesitated. "How did you tell a 7-year-old that someone tried to kill her?" But Sophie was too smart for evasions. "It was Aunt Victoria, wasn't it? She put something in my chocolate." "How did you—" "I'm not stupid, Papa. I knew she hated me. I just didn't think—" Sophie's voice got very small. "I didn't think she'd try to kill me." Eleanor sat on the edge of the bed. She's going to prison, Sophie. She'll never hurt you again. Good. Sophie's jaw set in a way that reminded Eleanor painfully of Nathaniel. She's a bad person, and bad people should have consequences. Yes, they should. Eleanor pulled Sophie into a careful hug. You're safe now. I promise. I know. Because you and Papa won't let anything happen to me. Sophie pulled back, looked between them. When's the wedding? I didn't miss it, did I? Nathaniel laughed, the sound shaky with relief. 2 days. You didn't miss it. Good. Because I have a very important job. Sophie's expression turned serious. Someone has to make sure Papa doesn't run away at the last minute. I'm not going to, Nathaniel started. He gets scared sometimes, Sophie told Eleanor confidentially. When things are too good, he thinks they'll get taken away, so I have to remind him that good things can stay. Eleanor met Nathaniel's eyes over Sophie's head, saw the truth there, the fear, the old scars from Caroline's death, the belief that happiness was temporary. Your daughter is very wise, Eleanor said softly. She gets it from her mother, Nathaniel replied. Both of them. The next 2 days passed in a blur. Sophie recovered rapidly, the resilience of childhood carrying her through. The scandal exploded exactly as Pemberton predicted. Newspapers shrieked about the poison scandal and Duke's broken engagement leads to murder attempt. But something unexpected happened. Public opinion turned in their favor. Letters arrived by the dozens. From other governesses who'd faced similar treatment. From women who'd been called fortune hunters for marrying above their station. From fathers who'd lost daughters and understood Nathaniel's anguish. Listen to this one, Beatrice said, reading from the morning's post. Dear Your Grace, I am a baker's widow who married a baronet. For 20 years society has cut me. But I want you to know that your courage in choosing love over convention has given hope to every woman who's been told she's not good enough. Stand firm. You're on the right side of history. Eleanor felt tears prick her eyes. We're not alone. No, Beatrice agreed. You're not. The world is changing, Eleanor. Slowly, perhaps, but changing nonetheless. And you're part of that change. The wedding day dawned clear and bright. Eleanor stood in her room looking at herself in the mirror. The gown was beautiful cream silk with delicate lace, Beatrice's work. But what caught Eleanor's attention was her own face. She looked different, stronger, more certain. The desperate drowning woman who'd arrived here 3 months ago was gone. In her place stood someone who'd fought for what she wanted and won. A knock. Sophie peeked in, already dressed in her own gown of pale blue. Eleanor, are you ready? Almost. Come here. Sophie entered, and Eleanor knelt to her level. Thank you. For what? For opening that door, for trusting me, for being brave enough to let yourself love again. Eleanor took Sophie's hands. You saved me just as much as I saved you. You know that, right? Sophie's eyes filled with tears. Are you really going to be my mamma? If you'll have me. Yes, yes, please. Sophie threw her arms around Eleanor's neck. I love you so much. I love you too, sweetheart. Always. They walked downstairs together. The small chapel was filled with people. Not the grand society wedding Nathaniel could have had with Victoria, but something better. Real. People who actually cared. Lady Westbrook, who'd given Eleanor her chance. The servants from Ravenscroft, every single one. Mrs. Thornton and the vicar looking chastened but present. A few of Nathaniel's genuine friends who'd stood by him through the scandal, and at the front, Nathaniel, looking at her like she was the only person in the world. Eleanor walked down the aisle, Sophie at her side, Beatrice watching with suspiciously bright eyes. When she reached Nathaniel, he took her hands. "You're beautiful." "You're not supposed to say that yet. Wait for the vows." "I can't wait. I've been waiting my whole life for you." The ceremony was simple. Traditional vows spoken with voices that shook with emotion. When the vicar said, "You may kiss your bride," Nathaniel cupped Eleanor's face with such tenderness it made her heart ache. "I choose you," he whispered. "Today, tomorrow, forever. I choose you. I choose you too." Their lips met, and Eleanor felt everything, all the fear, all the struggle, all the pain, transform into something bright and unbreakable. When they broke apart, Sophie was grinning. "Finally, now you have to stay." "Now I have to stay?" Eleanor agreed. The celebration afterward was loud and joyous, nothing like the stiff formal affairs Eleanor had attended in her old life. This was real. People laughing, dancing, celebrating love instead of alliance. Nathaniel pulled Eleanor aside during the dancing. "Happy, deliriously, you, more than I ever thought possible." He glanced at Sophie, who was dancing with one of the footman's sons. "She's going to be okay. We're all going to be okay." Even with the trial coming, the continued scandal. Eleanor looked at him steadily. "Nathaniel, we've survived assassination attempts, social exile, and your mother's brutal etiquette lessons. A trial is nothing." He laughed. "My mother's etiquette lessons were brutal. She made me practice walking with books on my head for 3 hours. She made me do that when I was 12. Welcome to the family. I'm terrified and honored in equal measure." "That's the appropriate response." He pulled her close. "Dance with me. Always." They danced, and Eleanor looked around at this life they'd built from ruins, this impossible, improbable, absolutely perfect life. 5 years later. Eleanor stood in the garden, one hand on her swollen belly, watching chaos unfold. Sophie, now 12, was attempting to teach her younger brother Thomas how to climb a tree. Thomas, age 3, was having none of it. "But Sophie, I'll fall." "You won't fall. I'm right here." "Papa, Sophie's trying to kill me!" Nathaniel appeared from the stables covered in hay. "Sophie's not trying to kill you. She's trying to make you brave." "I don't want to be brave. I want to be on the ground." "That's fair." Nathaniel plucked Thomas from the lowest branch, set him on solid earth. "Perhaps we'll work on tree climbing next year." Eleanor laughed, the sound bright in the afternoon air. "How many horses did you look at?" 17. "Sophie wants to approve each one personally before we make a final decision." "Of course she does." "In my defense," Sophie called from the tree, "I'm the one who'll be riding it. I should have input." "You have input," Nathaniel called back. "You vetoed every horse I've suggested for the past month." "Because they weren't perfect. I'm waiting for the perfect one." "Like I waited for the perfect Duchess." Nathaniel moved to Eleanor's side, slid his arms around her. "Exactly like that. You've set the standard impossibly high." Eleanor leaned into his embrace. "How many more weeks until the baby comes?" "Doctor says 6, but I'm guessing 4. This one seems eager." "Like its mother. Like both its parents. We're an impatient family." She turned to look up at him. "Happy?" "You ask me that at least once a week. And you never give me the same answer." He considered. "Today, I'm happy because Sophie laughed 17 times at breakfast. Because Thomas told me he wants to be a duke like Papa when he grows up. Because you're here in my arms carrying our child. Because 5 years ago I made the best decision of my life. Marrying me? No. Following you into that storm, choosing you over everything else? Best decision. No contest. Sophie climbed down from the tree, Thomas trailing behind her. Are you two being mushy again? Extremely mushy, Eleanor confirmed. Gross, but also sweet. Sophie made a face. I hope when I fall in love it's like what you two have. Something worth fighting for. It will be, Nathaniel said quietly, because we're teaching you that love without respect is worthless. That partnership matters more than possession. That choosing someone every single day is more important than one grand gesture. Also, that sometimes you have to slap people to get their attention, Eleanor added. Sophie grinned. That too. Beatrice appeared from the house, silver hair gleaming. Lunch is ready. And before you ask, yes, Cook made extra pudding for Thomas. And yes, Sophie, there's enough for you too. Grandmama, I wasn't going to steal his pudding. The last 3 times suggest otherwise. They walked toward the house together, Thomas chattering about pudding, Sophie arguing about horses, Beatrice organizing everyone with efficient precision. Eleanor hung back for a moment, looking at this family they'd built. This loud, chaotic, imperfect, absolutely beautiful family. Coming? Nathaniel asked. Yes. Just taking it in. Still can't believe it's real. Every single day. She took his offered hand. Do you remember what you said to me 3 months in, when everything was falling apart? I said a lot of things, most of them inadequate. You said you could hire 50 governesses like me before dinner. He flinched. I was an idiot. You were. But you know what? You were right about one thing. She squeezed his hand. You probably could have hired 50 governesses, but you couldn't have found 50 women who would have fought for Sophie the way I did, who would have stood in the rain and demanded you choose courage over convenience, who would have loved you through the scandal and the poison and the trial and everything else. No, Nathaniel agreed softly. I couldn't have found even one other woman like that, because there's only one you. And I thank God every day that you walked into my study 3 months after your father died, desperate and drowning, and somehow found the strength to walk back out when I disrespected you. Best walk I ever took. Best chase I ever made. They kissed right there in the garden, while their children groaned and Beatrice called them to lunch, and life happened all around them. And Eleanor thought about that desperate woman in the wet cloak, about the cold duke who'd catalogued her failures, about the impossible journey from employer and governess to husband and wife, about the moment she'd slapped him and walked away not knowing if he'd follow, about choosing dignity over desperation, courage over convenience, love over security, about building something real from the wreckage of scandal and society's judgment. She'd walked away from a man who thought he could replace her with 50 others, and he'd spent 5 years proving she was irreplaceable. That some people aren't found in multiples of 50. Some people are singular, precious, worth every scandal, every sacrifice, every fight. Eleanor Ashford, Duchess of Ravenscroft, had learned the greatest lesson of her life, that walking away from someone who doesn't see your worth isn't weakness. It's the bravest thing you can do. And if they're worth anything at all, they'll chase you. They'll prove you were right to demand better. They'll spend the rest of their life showing you that you were never replaceable to begin with. She'd been told she could be hired and fired like any other servant. Instead, she'd become the one thing that couldn't be bought, replaced, or replicated. She'd become loved. Truly, deeply, impossibly loved. and that made every moment of the fight worthwhile.